Are you thinking about adding yoga into your regular workout routine, but you're not quite sure how to get started, where to fit it in, what kinds of equipment you need, what kind of yoga is the best yoga for the sport that you participate in or the activity that you participate in most frequently? If so, stay tuned. We're going to talk today about how to bring yoga into your workout routine, your weekly workout regimen, and just some things that you need to know to get started, some of the equipment that you need to get started, and just how to pick the right class for you. If you're new here, my name is Heather, and I make videos about yoga for the everyday athlete and active older adults. And my website is yogabyheather.com. You can go there. You can check out all sorts of great, wonderful resources that I have there, including how to use this wonderful contraption back here called the yoga trapeze and how you can bring that into your workout regimen as well. So let's get started. So I have created an article where I've got links to all sorts of different pieces of equipment that you can use to get started with yoga. Now, what I want to say is if you are just getting started, you don't need all of this stuff, okay? When I first got started with yoga, I went to Target. I bought a yoga mat there and I went to yoga class. Didn't know anything, figured it out as I went, okay? So you can certainly do that. My only caution against that is that if you have a thin yoga mat, it can be a little bit hard on the knees. And some of us, as we get a little bit older and we've been doing a lot of sports or working out or other kinds of fitness related activities and maybe don't have the best knees anymore, I do make videos on this YouTube channel specific to people who have bad knees. But those thinner yoga mats are probably not going to be the best thing for you. However, it is certainly a great place to get started. So I have the link for you in the description below on all of the different resources, the different pieces of equipment, things like that. All right. So we're going to go over that in a second. But first, what I want to do is talk about how do you add yoga into an already very regimented training routine. So maybe you are a CrossFit athlete, you might be a triathlete, you might be in any type of competitive sport. Maybe you run marathons, maybe you do bodybuilding like I do, maybe you do a lot of hiking like I do. You might be involved in some sort of competitive sport, and you know that adding yoga into your training regime is probably going to help you out, okay? So here's the way I look at yoga for the everyday athlete. For those of us that are just going through life and we have a sport that we love participating in, but we know that yoga really helps with that sport, okay? There's three different things that I like to think about. The first is yoga for active recovery. So you have days, your so-called rest days, right? And we know that rest days don't necessarily mean just sit on the couch and do nothing. It can. Sometimes that's good for us mentally. But on your rest days, you can do some active recovery type of yoga. That's going to be a lot of stretching, holding stretches, and holding them for a length of time, a couple of minutes. It is really going to help with your active recovery. It's going to help with sore muscles. It's going to help with your overall recovery and also your mental recovery as well. So you think about yoga for your active recovery days. It's going to be very gentle yoga, holding poses for a couple minutes at a time, and really just soothing your sore muscles. All right, so that's the first thing. The second thing is thinking about yoga as a way to cross-train for your particular sport. So in my case, I do bodybuilding and I'm a hiker, okay? Those two don't necessarily always go together, but those are the two things that I do. All right, so you can use yoga as a way to cross-train so that you're not sort of overtraining in one specific thing. So you're not constantly overtraining a specific body part, or you're not constantly doing, all this hiking or all this running or whatever it may be for you, okay? And so you can think about yoga in that sense that you can do different types of maybe hot yoga or power yoga, or even some yoga with weights. So you can do yoga with some very light weights. Those of you that do a lot of weight training might look at this and go, okay, I'm going to do yoga with a 3-pound pink dumbbell. Are you kidding me? Well, you can do a really great workout with weights with yoga. All right. So you can think about yoga as a way to do some sort of cross training for your sport. The other thing that I would add, that sort of like a 2A, I would add to this is this right here is the yoga trapeze. You can't really see it all that well, but it's essentially like a TRX type of system with like, it's very similar to a aerial yoga hammock, okay? And this is another great way to add in some cross training to whatever sport that it is that you participate in. You can do a lot of really good stretching. You can stretch things that you didn't know that you could stretch with this thing. So that's a wonderful tool as well. All right, so first is yoga for your active recovery days, yoga for your rest days. The second is thinking about yoga as a way to do cross training for your particular sport. And the third is to think about yoga as a way to visualize you competing in your particular sport. So whether it's that you're shooting for first place, or you're just getting started in a particular sport and you want to visualize yourself actually competing in that particular sport. And so a large part of yoga it's not always just doing yoga poses, but there's a mindfulness portion to it as well. And where we really visualize ourselves doing the things that we want to do. And sometimes it can be difficult to visualize doing something that you haven't done yet, okay? And so you can use some yoga techniques to help you visualize yourself doing whatever it is that you want to do in your particular sport. Again, like you want to get first place, or this is your first time competing in this particular sport, and you just want to get through it, right? You just want to complete it, okay? So those are the three things that I really think about when we're talking about yoga for everyday athletes. The active older adult is yoga for your active recovery days, yoga for cross training, then yoga for visualization as well. All right. So let's get into what do you need? What kind of equipment do you need to get started with yoga? All right. So first thing, like I said earlier, you can go to Target, Walmart, buy a yoga mat. That's certainly going to work for you. However, they're going to be thin, they're flimsy. They're probably not going to be super comfortable if you have any sort of joint issues. Okay. So I do have a blog post that I want to share with you. I've got it in the description for you. So I've got all of these different things categorized for you. The first is a yoga mat with extra cushioning. So I do have a video where I compare the Lululemon yoga mat to the Manduka Pro yoga mat. I've had both. The Lululemon one I've had for over 10 years. I've taken very good care of it. And it's this one right here. It's underneath my yoga trapeze right now, so I can't grab it out for you. But it's a wonderful yoga mat. And then I've also got this Manduka Pro yoga mat here, which is, you can see it's a little bit thicker. It's got some cushioning. It's still not quite cushioned enough for me. I have two bad knees. One of them in particular, I can't put weight on it. So if I'm doing something like a bird dog or cat cow or anything where I'm putting weight on my knees, I do need to use one of these daisy pads. So you can get a couple different things. You can take like a blanket. They do make pads that just go across the yoga mat. So if you needed to use it for both knees, you could do that as well. But this is a really helpful tool if you've got any sort of knee issues, okay? And so I do make some pose tutorials on this YouTube channel. So if you do have bad knees, bad hips, bad ankles, any lower half of your body, I have figured it all out. And so make sure you watch some of those videos as well if you need some help learning some of those poses in case you have any sort of knee or hip or ankle issues. All right. So the first is to get a yoga mat with extra cushioning. Really going to help with those knees, those hips, that kind of thing. All right. The second is to get some yoga blocks for stability and support. I will say when I first started using yoga, I never used yoga blocks ever. Like I would go to class. It wasn't even something that the yoga studio even had. I didn't even know it was a thing. I didn't know what they were for. But you can use yoga mats in various types of yoga, a lot of restorative yoga, even power yoga and hot yoga. I use it. You get really tight. I'm a weightlifter. And so as a result, that shortens up your muscles and you're doing some forward folds. You're just doing some, it's very simple forward folds where you're hinging at your waist. And those yoga blocks, what they can do is they can bring the ground up to you. So if you're feeling sexually tight, these yoga blocks can come in real handy. So I have two different kinds here. I have these, it says the Path of Yoga. These I think I bought at Target like 20 years ago, maybe 15 years ago. They're really squishy. And they don't, like if I put any sort of weight on it, if I have them like this and I put any sort of weight on it, they kind of bend, okay? So, they're cheap, but I wouldn't necessarily suggest getting something like this. What I do suggest is these are Manduka, these are the cork blocks. They're very heavy, they're very sturdy, they're very strong, they're not going to bend, okay? So as you're putting weight on them, it's not going to bend out from underneath you like these are going to, okay? And, after I had my injury, I started using yoga blocks a lot more, so that's why I decided to go ahead and invest in some better yoga blocks. Now, again, you're going to go to some yoga classes. If you go to a yoga studio, they're going to have blocks there, all right? Like I said, when I started, this yoga studio I went to didn't even have blocks, but now I know it's because of the type of yoga they were teaching. They just didn't need blocks, okay? But most yoga studios nowadays are going to have blocks. So if you're going to a yoga studio, you don't necessarily need to purchase them. If you're looking to do yoga at home, I do suggest these Manduka Pro or these Manduka Cork yoga blocks. These are wonderful. All right, so getting a pair of sturdy yoga blocks. The next is going to be a yoga strap for helping with your flexibility. When you do something like yin yoga or restorative yoga, where you're holding poses for minutes, like multiple minutes, 5-7 minutes, this yoga strap is going to be really handy for that, to help you hold that particular pose. This is also going to come in handy in any other kinds of yoga classes where you're just trying to get deeper into a stretch. It also can extend your arm if you're trying to reach back through your leg and you can't quite reach it. This can sort of act as an extension to your arm. And this is one it says Path to Yoga. This actually came as a kit, okay? I don't have any issues with the yoga strap. The yoga blocks are just they're a little flimsy, okay? So get yourself a good yoga strap. Again, don't necessarily need to purchase it. If you go to a yoga studio, they're probably going to have straps there for you if you need them for that particular class. If you're doing yoga at home and you don't have a yoga strap, you can use a towel, you can use a belt, you can use a tie, a necktie, you can use a scarf. All these things are going to work as well. You don't necessarily have to buy a strap, okay? And the next thing is something for extra knee support. Some of you who watch this YouTube channel have found me because you also have bad knees. So like I said, this daisy pad here works really good. This came in a pack of 2. I only use the one. I have 2 bad knees, but one is the one that I really need it for. The other thing that you can do is you can use, like I said, they make these pads. I don't have one, but they're just a pad that extends across your yoga mat. So it really works for both of your knees. The other thing that you can do is use this yoga bolster. You can grab one of these here and you could just put your knees on it as well. It's just like a nice sturdy pillow. The yoga bolster is really going to come in handy if you're doing something like restorative yoga where you're getting into some of these poses that you're going to hold for a couple of minutes. Those of you who are athletes in some particular sport, you're really going to find that, these using that yoga bolster to get into a stretch and just hold it, your muscles are going to be like, thank you. Where have you been my whole life? All right. So getting that yoga bolster. I very rarely have used a yoga bolster at a yoga class. But I also haven't taken a lot of like restorative type classes at the yoga studio. I do prefer to do restorative classes at home. All right. So, but again, most yoga studios are going to have that yoga bolster if it's needed for your particular class. The next is a lightweight towel or blanket. Now, the towels and blankets can be used for a couple of different things. Okay. The first one here is I have this, it's specifically a towel that is the same size as my yoga mat. All right. And I think this one's also Manduka. I guess I like Manduka. But what it is on one side of the towel, they'll usually put like some sort of pretty design. Okay. And then the other side of the towel, you'll see these little dots here. They're like little gel silicone type of dots. And you're going to put that down on your yoga mat. And if you're doing something like hot yoga or even just regular yoga where you sweat, like I'm a sweater. Okay. I sweat a lot. And so even if I go to a slow flow class where it's not a heated class, I'm still going to sweat. And so what you could do is you could put that towel down and it's going to help you not slip all over the yoga mat and get your sweat all over the place. Okay. And you can just throw it in the wash. I just throw it in the wash and then hang it up. Don't put it in the dryer. It works really good. These yoga towels are really popular as well. These are great. I like to use these. Like I said, I like to do restorative yoga at home. And if I'm chilly, you can put this, you can just lay this over you. But you could also use this as a way that you can, in similar ways that you use a yoga strap, where you can wrap it around your ankles for different things. You can also use it to kind of prop you up in the same way that you would use a block. So it's very helpful. All right. So now you don't need to buy all these things. You're like, how do I want to start yoga? It's 2025. I want to start yoga. I want to figure this out. I've been doing CrossFit. I'm training for a triathlon. I'm training for a bodybuilding competition, but I know that yoga is really important, okay? What I would suggest doing, get yourself a nice yoga mat. Get yourself a nice outfit that you feel comfortable in doing yoga. I prefer a little bit more form-fitted clothing just because when you're doing some movements and stuff, I don't want my clothes in the way. But it's totally up to you. Get yourself a nice outfit that you feel is really comfortable for you for doing yoga. Get yourself a yoga mat and try out some of these classes you can either find online or you can go to a yoga studio. If you're brand new to yoga, you've never done it before, I do suggest going to a yoga studio and taking classes there. Now, some of you might be living in a rural area where you don't necessarily have access to a yoga studio, or maybe the classes just don't fit your particular schedule. That's totally fine. I do offer some classes at yogabyheather.com, and in 2025, we're going to be adding a whole lot more. And then there's also different apps out there that you can use to get yoga classes. The two that I use in particular are, and I'll have links for you in the description. I don't have affiliate links for all of these, but I'll certainly include them because I just like them, okay? The first is Yoga Download. It's yogadownload.com. That's a really affordable app that they've got all sorts of different yoga classes in there by all sorts of different instructors. So they're just all sorts of different types of yoga and all different types of instructors. All right. And then the second one that I use is the Peloton app. So the Peloton app is filled with all sorts of different workouts. You got rowing and your bike and treadmills and all that kind of stuff, but they also do have different types of yoga classes. They've got restorative classes. They've got yin classes. They've got power classes. They've got yoga with weights, yoga conditioning. They got all sorts of different stuff. Okay. So what I suggest doing, take classes with all sorts of different types of instructors. Okay. You're like, Heather, I really like you. I want to take classes with you. That's fine. Take classes with me. But I also want you to take classes with other instructors simply because you're going to learn different things. Everybody has their own teaching style. Everybody has their own philosophies. Everybody brings things to you in a different way, all right? And creates this space for you to conduct your yoga practice in a different way. So I always suggest that you try things out, try different types of classes, try different instructors. I'll say this. I have been a weightlifter for 30 years, and I decided recently, within the last 6 months, I thought I'll try a yoga sculpt class, which is a yoga class with weights, okay? And I'm like, I show up and they're like, oh, here's your 3 pound weight. Actually, I think I was using 8 pounds, but still very lightweight for me. And it was hard. It was really hard. And I actually started learning how to really enjoy that kind of class. So you might be like, Heather, I'm super high strung. I'm not the type that does yoga. Roar, right? Like you're super type A. Guess what? That's why a lot of us come to yoga. It helps chill us out. It helps kind of settle us down a little bit. Relax, breathe. If you like that, you probably need yoga more than the other average person, okay? All right, so those are my tips. That's the equipment. If you have questions, leave me a comment below. I'll come back to this video. Make sure to check in with you guys. And let me know, what you've done, how you've, integrated yoga into your training routines. If you're working out 5-6 days a week, maybe yoga is something that you do for 20 or 30 minutes on your rest day. Just do some light stretching, some active recovery type of yoga. Or maybe you swap out one day with doing some sort of cross training, either yoga with weights or power yoga, or even doing the yoga trapeze. So thank you. I hope that you will share this video with somebody who you think might find it helpful. Like the video, subscribe to my channel, all that good stuff. Also, I do have a Yoga for Active Recovery guide that is made specifically for the everyday athlete. So for those of you who are active adults, you're competing in some type of sport, or you're a gym rat, or whatever it might be, you can download that guide. I've got several different yoga poses in there that you can do, and it also comes with a video where I kind of go through all of those different poses with you. And, you can do that on your rest days. So go to the link in the description below, heathermonthly.com, yogabyheather.com. All of those resources are there for you. I'll talk to you in the next video.